Hello and welcome to class number 11 of the UPSC Mains Answer Writing Initiative, a place where we're trying to decode the previous year papers and make you master in the art of UPSC Mains Answer Writing. I'm glad to see a lot of you have been taking out the time to watch these videos and also writing your answers. Please continue to do that because just writing one answer a day will not take a lot of time but will in fact give you the confidence moving forward. If you want to have PDF of these lectures, join the Telegram channel. The link is in the description of the video where I upload the PDF of all the different classes. Also, in the very first class of this series, we discuss about how to structure the answer, how to write the introduction, main body, conclusion, etc. If you still have any doubts about how to structure your answer, if you want to have the basic clarity, I would really advise you to watch class number 1 of this series. I'm giving the link of the entire playlist in the description of the video. Go to that. Click on the very first video, that is class number 1. Watch the initial part where you will get a better idea about how to write an answer. Once you have done that, let's go and answer a question today. Again from 2023, we have taken up a question from GS2. Simple, straightforward question from Indian polity. If you are trying to write an answer right now, I would advise you to pause this video right away. Take your pen and paper, write the answer in the next 8 to 10 minutes and then come back, resume this to see if you wrote in the correct manner or not. If you have already read about this, this is a good way to go ahead. Don't give yourself a lot of time because in the examination also, you will see the question and you will have to write it. So the perfect way will be to pause it and then write the answer right away. Anyways, the question is, discuss the role of presiding officers in state legislatures in maintaining order and impartiality, in conducting legislative work, and in facilitating best democratic practices. The question is very simple, straightforward. In the chapter of the parliament and in the state legislatures, you read about the role of the Lok Sabha Speaker, Rajya Sabha Chairperson, Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, Chairman of the Legislative Council. What is the role that they play in maintaining order? How is it that they try and ensure best practices in democratic world and in legislative work? That is what you have to write. So it's a pretty simple, straightforward question. Questions on Indian polity of these kinds are very simple, straightforward. What you just have to write is exactly what has been asked rather than thinking too much, rather than giving examples from different reports. When you are asked about certain reforms, for example, if the question would have been, how can we reform the office of the presiding officer? What are the best practices around the world? Then it would have been slightly more difficult. Because in that case, you would have to give examples of all around the world, the British model, American model, so on and so forth. But this is a very simple, straightforward question. All that you need to take care of here is, remember the article number at least related to the presiding officer. That article number is a very good beginning for the introduction. So in the introduction part, you can write about the article number that is given in the constitution, presiding officers. In the main body, you will write about the role of the presiding officers, like maintaining order, deciding upon how the proceedings of the house will work, making sure that the order is maintained in the house, so on and so forth. That will be the main body. So because the question is about the state level, please read the question carefully. They're not asking about the parliament. They're asking you about state legislatures. So be very careful. The article numbers that you mention should not be of the Lok Sabha Speaker because that will be a very big error in right at the beginning of the answer. So write about the Speaker of the state level. So Speaker of the Legislative Assembly and Chairman of the Legislative Council act as presiding officers and they are given the article numbers here. Two things to consider here. Number one, they are not saying speaker, they are saying presiding officer. So they mean to say speaker or the chairman, both of them. Also they are saying state level, so you don't have to mention Lok Sabha Speaker here. That will be an error. So read the question very carefully. Very simple, straightforward introduction. With the article number we have introduced that yes, this article number talks about this post. And their functions include smooth running of the houses as per the rules of procedure. Now we'll come to the main body. What do they do? Maintain order. And then we'll define it in a couple of lines. Maintain order how? They can expel the members who are not following the rules. They can adjourn the meetings as they do. They can even suspend the members if they are not following the rules of the house. Intervene if the parliamentary language is not fine, and they can even penalize the members by disqualifying them. So again, first point, maintaining order, and you can give all these examples and how they maintain the order. Second important thing they do, maintain impartiality. Now, you may or may not believe it, but you have to keep your beliefs aside, and then at least on paper, you would have to imagine that whoever is sitting at the post of the presiding officer is maintaining impartiality. So they maintain impartiality how? By dividing the opportunities to speak and introduce legislations on different matters. Also, in order to maintain their impartiality, they don't vote in the first instance. They only vote in case of a tie. They will give equal opportunities to participate. Now, you might say that they don't give equal opportunities to participate. Usually, you will see the members of the ruling party getting more time to speak. But that is because the rule is the amount of time that you are given to speak is in proportion to the number of seats you have in the house. For example, how is it possible that PM Modi makes such long speeches in the parliament uninterrupted, while the opposition members, they can't speak for a few minutes? The reason is that the time given or number of minutes given to make the speech to Prime Minister Modi will be in proportion to number of seats that BJP has in Lok Sabha, which is much larger. And the time given to opposition parties will be again in proportion to number of seats that they have. So that is why even at the state level, you will see members from the ruling party getting more time and more chances to speak. But that is not because of partiality. That is because of how the rules are. So they try and maintain impartiality in the working of the house. Then they also maintain democratic practices. How? By ensuring that there is open exchange of views, by making sure that it is open for the members to ask questions. Members can participate in favor of ensuring minority rights. They also ensure that the voting for different legislations take place in a proper manner. Voting for different motions is ensured as per the rules. These are some of the things that the presiding officer does. Again, please make sure if the question does not mention Lok Sabha or the parliament, you also should not mention that. If the question is about the state legislatures, talk about state legislatures. Also herein, if you see clearly, I have given example of the state because the question is of state. If the question would have been of the parliament, then the example also would have been better if you had written for the parliament. Because the question is about a state, the example also we have taken for a state specifically and not for the center. All these little minute things matter. All these things tell the examiner you have read the question very carefully. So this is what the question is asking you. And we'll go back and read the question again. They're only asking you the role of presiding officer in the state legislature and maintaining impartiality and conduct in the work. So now it depends whether you want to write more or not. So it will depend on mainly the word limit. If let's assume it's a 150 word answer. Let's say the word limit is 150 words. Then in most cases, you can just write about this, and in the conclusion part, if you want, you can write 1 or 2 points about the issues in the working of the presiding officer. Again, if it's a 150 word answer, just write this, what has been asked, and then the conclusion part, just to give a different point of view. In the conclusion part, maybe we'll give 1 or 2 points about the issues in the working of presiding officer or charges of partiality, charges of being biased, so on and so forth. But again, that depends on the word limit. If the word limit is 200 words, then in the main body itself, I will write 1 or 2 points about how the speaker as an officer or the presiding officer as an officer has been at the center of controversy. So it will depend a lot on the word limit. How would you structure your answer? If the word limit is longer, then I would basically write these points in the main body about the concerns related to presiding officer. If it is not that long, what I will do is I will usually basically give 1 or 2 short points in the concluding argument itself. So it depends on the word limit, you have to play with that. There are issues related to presiding officer, allegations of partisanship, that they favor their party, lack of independence, that they get orders from their own party, abuse of power, limited accountability. For example, there have been allegations of presiding officers misusing their power to delegate a bill as a money bill so that it can be passed. There have been issues of presiding officers not taking decision in the anti-defection law, allowing the defecting members to continue for a long time. In Manipur, for example, it became a big issue. Members from one party, from the opposition, joined the ruling party. They were not disqualified. In fact, they even became ministers. They were not disqualified. Supreme Court had to intervene. So these are issues related to presiding officer. Again, it has not been asked specifically in the question. So what we'll do is we'll have to use our own judgment now. One more thing I'll have to tell you here. The answers that I'm checking these days, one interesting thing has come up. Let's assume in this question there's a 200-word answer and you have to write the answer about the speaker only or the presiding officer only. Some people, what they do is they first write about the concerns and then they write about what has been asked in the question. That is not correct. In the main body, if you have to give some extra information that was not asked, give it later on. Don't let the examiner wait for a long time before reading the actual part of the main body. As an examiner, if I am checking your answer, I want to first know whether you have written what the question asked or not. Question specifically asked you about the role of the speaker. So first write about the role of the speaker. Any add-on information that you want to add, that is fine. But don't write it in the beginning. Don't make the examiner wait for 1.5 pages before the real main body starts. I hope you are getting my point. Don't do this mistake of getting add-on information in the beginning, because the examiner will think that you don't know the answer, so you're just eating up words. I want to first know the answer to the exact question that was asked. Then if you want to add on a solution or a problem to it, do that, but in the later half. Like this, rather than writing it in the beginning. That will be problematic. Then we'll conclude it about how the role of the speaker is extremely important, especially in parliamentary traditions. And we can write about how, because we have written about the problems, we can give a line about how adopting maybe the British model will allow the speaker to be even more independent. Something like this can be the concluding argument. The British model, for example, is once a speaker, always a speaker. Whoever has been appointed as a speaker, all the political parties agree that in the next election, no one will have a candidate from that constituency, so that the speaker can win unopposed. Something like this can be the concluding argument, which brings us to your homework for the day. Again from GS2, 2023 question about e-governance. E-governance as a critical tool of governance has ushered in effectiveness, transparency, accountability in government. What inadequacies hamper the enhancement of these features? Write about this in 200 words. Send your answers to me right here. I'll be happy to give you the feedback. Keep on writing these answers. One step at a time is how you improve. Hit the subscribe button if you have not done so till now. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.